Good afternoon, and welcome back to another episode of the Arrow Preacher Podcast. I am your host, the Arrow Preacher, and I've got some explaining to do. So, for those of you who usually join in, you know that usually on Monday or Tuesday I do a lesson in the book of John. Currently, we are going through the entire book, verse by verse, and that's been going pretty well so far. Usually at the end of the week, I do some sort of devotion, usually on a Thursday or Friday, and that's been going pretty well so far. I didn't do either of those this week, and I wanted to take some time to kind of explain why. So, I was 11 when I found out that there was some inconsistencies on my past that I didn't know were not entirely accurate. And I received that information when I was 11, and shortly after I began searching for my biological father. I didn't have much to go on, largely because there wasn't a lot of information to go on. But I did start searching for my biological father. I searched pretty extensively when I hit around 15, 16, 17 years old. The name that I had was fairly common, especially where I grew up. So even though I'd made tons and tons of phone calls using the phone book, I never found who I was looking for. I joined the military. I left. I had done some searching here and there, but without any more information. Once the internet became heavily prevalent, I started searching on the internet, tried to use different search algorithms, software, stuff like that, and I never was able to actually find him. Fast forward to last year, I was given a Ancestry DNA kit, and I began using Ancestry to track down anybody that might know my father. Well, as it would happen, I did end up finding some information, and that information led me to someone who had different software access than I did, and I was able to find my father. And unfortunately, September 1st of 2003, my father passed away, and I joined the military and left on September 18th, 2003 is when I left for basic training. I did find out that he actually only lived like 3 miles from me. Most of my life, he lived only 3 miles from me, and I didn't know it. So then the search started for siblings, and I had just about the same amount of information. I didn't have anything but their first name. I didn't know if their last names had ever been changed. So because I didn't know that information, it made the search very difficult. And towards the fall of last year is when I found out about my father, and then I started searching for my siblings, and I honestly didn't think that anything was going to come of it until the winter going into 2025. I actually got a break, and I was led towards my brother, and a phone number was actually found. A third party reached out and connected the dots, and we ended up speaking. I believe it was in probably late March, early April is when I actually got a chance to speak with him. I hadn't been here in the apartment very long, so I assume it was probably April. So, all of that to be said, last week, a friend's nephew was in a pretty critical accident on a motorcycle, and he survived the accident, was in critical condition, and on Tuesday we were holding a prayer vigil for him. And I was supposed to meet up at a friend's house, and we were all going to meet there, and then we were going to carpool over to where the prayer vigil was going to be held. And I was about a mile away when I got a message from my sister, whom I've just only started speaking to not that long ago. It took a little while to get a hold of her because I didn't have her information. There was some communication issues between my brother and I, so I wasn't able to get her information right away. But she sent me a text about a mile away saying that my brother had passed on Tuesday. Yeah, he unfortunately had a large heart attack and then went into cardiac arrest, and unfortunately they were not able to save him in the ambulance he coded. So obviously going into the prayer vigil, I was already not okay. At the end of the prayer vigil, I actually received a phone call from my brother's wife, and we were not quite dismissed yet from the prayer vigil, so as soon as we were done, about 10 minutes later, I called her back, and we spoke on the phone for a little while. Many people who grieve, they grieve loss because of what they had. For me, it's a little different. I grieve for what I wanted and what I hoped for in the future. That relationship that I so wanted, I desperately wanted, that would never be. I searched 30 years to have that conversation, to find my siblings that in my heart I realized it was probable that I had siblings. It would be unlikely that my father didn't have any kids. It pains me because the last time my brother got back to me was in May. I'd sent a few messages here and there, and life just got busy, and I hadn't heard from him again since May. And that's hard. So dealing with Riley and dealing with the loss of my brother, it's obvious I'm not okay. I'm doing my best. I'm not a crumbling mess. I'm still cleaning. I'm still cooking. I'm still doing what I need to do. I'm still going to my appointments, but I'm hurting, and largely I just wanted to share because it's so important that we don't take time for granted. Time is not our friend. And since the fall, the corruption of time, the passage of time, and the fact that time erodes and decays, we have to understand that we are but a vapor, here 1 minute and gone the next. And Scripture says that we shouldn't, when we say we're going to do something, Scripture says when we plan on going to this city or the next, and we plan on doing this, that we should say, Lord willing. And it's hard because we allow time to get away from us. Are we truly doing what we're supposed to do when it comes to loving one another? Are we there for one another? Are we lifting up one another? Are we texting one another? Are we calling one another? Are we seeing if they're okay? Or are we waiting for them to reach out to us? Because if everybody waits for someone to reach out, then no one ever reaches out. At some point, we have to take responsibility for the time, and we have to make that decision. I'm going to be the one to reach out. I had somebody say to me, well, I didn't text because I figured you needed to be alone. Well, the opposite was true. I didn't want to be alone. But they didn't text because they thought I'd want to be alone. And don't we do that on a regular? Like, isn't that what we usually do? Even though that's not at all what we should likely do. Because even if someone's not ready or willing to talk right then, at least they know that you care enough to reach out. Because honestly, this is what Scripture says. Galatians 6:2. Bear one another's burdens, and thereby fulfill the law of Christ. Well, what is the law of Christ? Love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. That's the law. The Ten Commandments falls under that, but if you love, then you don't commit the sins of the Ten Commandments. Because the Ten Commandments is just the idea of what is sin. What does sin look like? But if you are truly living in love, the first 4 commandments are about God. The last 4 commandments hold on. 10, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, the first 5 are about God. The last 5 are about man. And the one in the middle is about both. I think it's maybe 6, 5, one of those. I didn't look it up. I'm sorry. But if you love, then you don't commit those sins. If you love your spouse, you're not committing adultery. If you love your neighbor, you're not going to steal from them. If you love your neighbor, you're not going to covet. If you love your neighbor, you're not going to murder. If you love God, you're not going to worship idols. And so on and so forth. So, if we're to bear one another's burdens in love, then how can we do that if we don't show up? How can we do that if we just sit back and let someone suffer through on their own? Are we truly loving if we're all introverts and never reach out? I'm sorry, Scripture doesn't say it's cool to be an introvert. There are some situations where being an introvert is a problem. I'm not saying it's every situation, and of course there are introverts, and that's cool. But when your brother or sister are in need, we have a responsibility as the church not to hover, not to overstay our welcome, but knowing the situation and doing something about it. Because then we get into Romans 12:15. Rejoice with those who rejoice. celebrate the good times. Your friend gets a promotion, celebrate. Don't be jealous or envious. Celebrate with them. It's a good thing. Your friend's going to have a baby, and you've been trying for 2 years. Celebrate with them. It's important that we celebrate our wins and our victories. And it's important we do that collectively. But then on the flip side, and weep with those who weep. There are times in this life when it's going to be hard. I received the news about Riley and losing my brother within just a few short weeks of each other. Now she is still chugging along. She's still doing the best she can. The stairs are a little slower, but she's doing okay for now. And I'm grateful for every minute I have with her. Last few weeks I've sat with her more. I've been giving her more hugs. Been giving her more treats, spoiling her a little bit more. Because I know that time is short. And we have to respect time. And we have to respect that God knows what He's doing. We have to respect that we are creatures of the moment. We get to choose only right now what we're going to do. And sure, we may plan for tomorrow. But right here, right now, do you have friends in need? Do you have friends who are struggling? I know a lot about loss. And I know a lot about struggles of life. I have faced many battles. I have faced off against many demons. And I know what loss looks like. Losing family, losing friends suddenly or unexpectedly. I've had friends battling cancer. I've lost friends to suicide. I know what it's like. And because I know what it's like, I do my very best to send messages on a regular basis just to see how everybody's doing. Because I know the dangers of what it is to isolate. And I know what isolation does to a person. Because when I was isolated, when I was going through a hard time and I didn't reach out and I didn't ask for help, I put a 9mm hollow point through my shoulder, and that's not the answer. It is not the answer to isolate and not ask for help. But in the same breath, we cannot isolate and not reach out when we know that a brother or sister are likely in need. I'm sad about my brother's loss. I'm sad for his wife. I'm sad for his kid. I'm sad for my sister losing her brother. It makes me sad to know that I will never be able to get to know him. When we had so much in common. 40 years we grew up apart from one another, and yet we had so much in common. So bear one another's burdens. Be there for one another. Lift up one another. Remember, men, ladies, iron sharpens iron. So be there to sharpen one another and fulfill the law of Christ, which is to be there in love for one another. So I again would like to ask your apologies. I would like to ask for your forgiveness as I apologize for missing this week. I'm going to do my best to get back on track, and I'm going to do my best to get out a message by Tuesday, continuing in John. But for the meantime, just I ask that you bear with me during this difficult time. And I will likely, because I'm going to see it tonight, I'm choosing to get out of the house, I will likely, as I did with Superman, do a review of Fantastic Four. So I will probably do a review either tonight or tomorrow on the Fantastic Four movie. And as I said, I will be doing reviews periodically as different movies come out that I am interested in. I'm not planning on being a movie critic or anything, but I thought it'd be fun to just do something a little different. So, but again, I ask that you please bear with me and keep my family and my extended family in your prayers, my sister's family in your prayers as we are struggling through this tough time. I pray that my sister and I are able to continue to grow and bond and build a relationship. I pray that 40 years isn't too long to build a relationship later in life. I pray that is something that we might be able to do, and all I can do is hope. So, but thank you guys for tuning in, and go in peace, go in love, and remember, share the gospel with everybody you meet, because that is love. Love is being there for one another. Love is worshiping the one true God, and love is telling people the truth, which is the gospel. So I will see you guys soon. Take care, and God bless. Love you guys.